of Ventura. There, and now I'm mic'd. Welcome once more. I'm Worship Associate Celia Ortenberg. Our minister, the Reverend Dana Worsnop, is away from the pulpit today. I believe that she's going to be returning next week. Today, we have another of our wonderful cluster services. This one is recorded by Reverend Rod Richards of the Unitarian Universalist Church of San Luis Obispo. He will speak to us of longing to belong. For the rest of the service, my co-worship associate, Jerry Mendelsohn, will also be here with you, as well as our wonderful music director, Carolyn Bjerke, and all of the wonderful tech people that are just on the other side of that wall there. Please, let's give the tech folks a hand today because they never get the appreciation that they deserve, and we do appreciate everything that they do so much. And, by the way, they could use a little bit help, so if you would like to volunteer to be with them and help us out, that would be great. I'm sure they would be happy to talk to you. So I'm glad that you are all here today, and I'm glad that I am here, both here in the sanctuary and those of you who are out there in Cyberland. I invite you now to take a deep breath together as we open our hearts to the Chumash people who have cared for and preserved this beautiful land that we are on since time immemorial. May we too care for it lovingly so that it can bring joy to generations to come. Let us enter sacred space.
Good morning, everybody. As Celia said, I'm Jerry Mendelsohn, Worship Associate. If you are at home, I invite you to light a chalice or a candle while Celia lights the flame of our free faith here in the sanctuary. I offer you this by Christine Robinson. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Come, let us worship together.
Hobble, hobble. We bid you welcome who come with weary spirit seeking rest, who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid. We bid you welcome who come with hope in your heart, who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous. We bid you welcome who are seekers of a new faith, who come to probe and to explore, who come to learn. We bid you welcome who enter the hall as a homecoming, who have found here a room for your spirit, who find here in this people a family. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome. By Richard S. Gilbert.
Good morning. My name is Carolyn Bjerke, and I would like to welcome you all here in the sanctuary and online. Our opening hymn is Morning Has Broken. Please rise in body or spirit. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise with the laziness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one night Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
One way to feel as if you belong is to have a place to feel a part of, where friends and family can come, where you feel safe, a home. Every week, this congregation gives away their entire offering to help others in our community or to help someone in need in our community. Our offering today goes to Step Up Ventura to provide services and access to child care and preschool for children ages 0 to 5 who are affected by the trauma of homelessness. Here's a story about a young boy they helped. 2-year-old Jason and his mother had lived in 3 different homes of friends because his mother could not find affordable housing. Jason's preschool teacher was considering recommending Jason for expulsion from preschool because he was having great difficulties cooperating with teachers and peers. Thankfully, she referred him to Step Up Ventura instead. Staff from Step Up Ventura met with Jason in the classroom setting, focusing on building trust and cooperation, addressing Jason's fears, frustrations, sadness, and self-control difficulties. Their intervention made a tremendous difference. Jason now smiles when he has done something helpful with a peer or followed the teacher's directions, enjoying the positive expressions of appreciation he receives. If you want to help children like Jason, you can do so from home or here in the sanctuary. Those of you at home have 2 ways to give: through the link posted in the chat or using the text to give number 844-901-1779, also shown on the screen. Folks who are here in the sanctuary can also use the text to give number or write a check or get out some cash and drop it in the basket at the back of the sanctuary after the service. Thanks for giving generously, as you always do, so that Step Up Ventura can help other kids like Jason who are suffering. Beautiful, Carolyn. Thank you. We are always deeply grateful for the generosity of this congregation. Your gifts are golden threads that run throughout this community and keep us connected to one another and to the broader world.
One of the ways that we connect with each other every Sunday morning is to share the joys and sorrows that grace our lives. This helps us weave the beautiful tapestry in our community, perhaps softening the sorrows, lifting the joys, wrapping us in the fabric of acceptance and love. You can submit a joy or a sorrow for sharing via a link on the website uuventura.org, or a link in our Thursday email bulletin, UUCV. This week, UUVC this week, those that are received by 10 p.m. on Saturday will be shared the next Sunday. Jerry will place stones in the water for each joy or sorrow that is shared. The ripples that go out symbolize how our own joys and sorrows are felt throughout our community. I invite you now to speak aloud or write in the Zoom chat the names of those that you want to bring into the loving embrace of this wonderful church family. By invoking their names, even when they may not, or we may not hear them, you bring them into this circle of caring that we call community. Jerry will place the final stone in the water for all these joys and sorrows just shared, and those left unspoken in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. May we be truly grateful for all that is our life.
Please remain seated as we sing Comfort Me. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort comfort me, oh my soul.
Let's take a few moments to hold together those joys and sorrows that were unspoken, that remain unspoken, and those that were spoken. Let's open our minds and hearts to the place of quiet, to a prayer for the healing of pain, and to a renewed awareness of and commitment to the truly awesome power of love within and beyond this community. Got a novice here. Undeserved, please. So may it be.
One, two, 1, 2, 3. Combination of words that I could put on the back of a postcard. No song that I could sing, but I can try because this is your heart. And these are our dreams, and they are made out of real things, like a shoebox of photographs, sepia tone loving. Love is the answer, at least for most of the questions in my heart. Like why we're here and where do we go and how come it's so hard. Not always easy and sometimes life can be deceiving. But tell you one thing, it's so much better when we're together. It's so much better when we're together. Yeah, look at them stars when we're together. We're so much better when we're together. Yeah, so much better when we're together. Morning light sings, so brings no things. But tomorrow night you see, they'll be gone too. Too many things I gotta do. But if all of these dreams might find a way into my day-to-day scene. I'd be under the impression I was somewhere in between, with only two, just me and you. Not so many things we gotta do, places we got to be. We sit beneath the mango tree now. Yeah, so much better when we're together. We're somewhere in between together. Yeah, so much better when we're together. Yeah, so much better when we're together. I believe in memories, they look so pretty when I sleep. Yeah, now when I wake up, you look so pretty, sleeping next to me. But there's not enough time. There is no song I could sing. There is no combination of words I could say, but I will still tell you one thing: we're better together. So much better when we're together. So much better when we're together. Take care, everybody. Aloha.
Indeed, Carolyn, better when we're together. Thank you for that. This reading is adapted from The Opposite of Loneliness, written by journalist and playwright Maria Keegan for a special edition of the Yale News for her class of 2012. We don't have a word for the opposite of loneliness, but if we did, I could say that's what I want in life. What I'm grateful and thankful to have found here, and what I'm scared of losing when I wake up tomorrow morning and leave this place. It's not quite love, it's not quite community, it's just the feeling that there are people, an abundance of people who are in this together, who are on your team. This is a place full of tiny circles we pull around ourselves, tiny groups that make us feel loved and safe and part of something, even on our loneliest nights. We won't have that next year. This scares me more than finding the right job or city or spouse. I'm scared of losing all this web that we're in, this elusive, indefinable opposite of loneliness, this feeling that I have right now. Now I'm going to introduce our speaker that we have. Our homily comes to us on video from the Reverend Rod Richards, who's been the minister at the Unitarian Universalist Church of San Luis Obispo since 2012. Previous to that, he served for over 8 years as the first minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Southeastern Arizona, which is now Sky Island UU Church in Sierra Vista. He also serves as vice president of the UU Ministers Association. We're really fortunate to have to be able to hear his words. He says that he is very fortunate to have his words as minister within the cluster. Actually, I read that wrong, but I'll just go on. We are fortunate to have him today. He has a lovely homily that we will get to hear. Thanks a lot.
Good morning. I am Rod Richards. I serve as minister of Unitarian Universalist San Luis Obispo, and it is my honor and pleasure to take part in another Central Coast Cluster collaboration. Say that 3 times fast. And I send greetings to all who may be watching today. What is the opposite of loneliness? Marina Keegan, in her poignant and beautiful essay, says there isn't a word for it, and I believe she's right. Oh, I know, one can Google antonyms of loneliness and click thesaurus.com and find unhelpful suggestions such as unlonely, which is an utter cop-out, or sociable, close, loved, which are all good things to be, but miss the mark on being the opposite of loneliness. Or these, frequented, populated, inhabited, which obviously refer to lonely places rather than lonely people. None of these quite fit, and yet I feel like I knew exactly what Keegan means when she describes it as not quite love, and it's not quite community. It's just this feeling that there are people, an abundance of people, who are in this together, who are on your team. And though, as I said, I don't think there is a word for the opposite of loneliness that fits precisely, I will offer one this morning, which I think comes close. Belonging. The opposite of loneliness might be something like belonging. We all long to belong. Not that belonging arrives for us without its own set of complexities. Belonging, after all, has more than one meaning. Belonging can refer to being included in a group of people who are in this together, who are on the same team. And it can also refer to possessions, to ownership, my belongings. This belongs to me. Does that belong to you? Now I realize that many words can have more than one meaning, and such meanings can be clarified by context. But in this case, I think the meanings can possibly overlap in sometimes disturbing ways. For instance, people in love saying, "we belong together," can easily morph into one or the other, or both saying, "you belong to me." You can see how that moved from being on the same team to ownership. And while I realize that "you belong to me" and "I belong to you" are popular phrases in love songs and love poems throughout the ages, that only makes it more creepy, doesn't it? If you look at what the words express, it is asserting ownership rights. And I'm not saying everyone who penned or keyed or crooned these words meant that, but I am saying that in the attempt to overcome loneliness, to attain a sense of belonging, there can be sometimes, depending on what is required of us to belong, there can be a movement from being accepted by a group or a person or a community to a relationship that may be more accurately described as being owned by said group or person or community. When groups become insular, shielding themselves against any critique from inside or out. When groups demand unquestioning loyalty. When insiders are protected to a fault. When outsiders are dismissed to a fault. When these things occur, one must ask what belonging means. Which belonging we are talking about. One hears of this in street gangs and crime families. You hear from those who have been members about the power of that utter loyalty to those within and the extreme danger and degradation that stems from the utter disregard and lack of concern for those without. And that is not unique to those we identify as criminals. That same syndrome can happen in political parties and activist groups, in fraternities and sororities, in religious groups and social cliques, on campuses, in kindergartens and within corporations, in families, among friends, under the banners of faith or freedom or football or Facebook. The loyalty to who and where and what we belong to, the gratitude for feeling a part of something, it can ramp up to the point, if we are not careful, and especially if the group welcomes or even demands this kind of perverted loyalty, it can ramp up to the point where we really don't care about anyone else. We really don't listen to anyone outside. We are accepted and connected and protected within the group, and that is enough. But is it? Is it truly what people are seeking? You see, belonging, even in its healthiest expressions, always requires something of us, if only the willingness on our own part to be accepted. That in itself takes work sometimes, to accept for ourselves the acceptance that is offered. Belonging always requires something. And the question is, of course, what is required? Some of you may be aware of a certain suspicion around joining that is, or at least has been, characteristic of Unitarian Universalists. Grounded in the self-reliant tradition given expression in the work of Ralph Waldo Emerson, and trusting an individual's lived experience as the sacred text upon which to make meaning, we tend to be a little wary of groups, even our own Unitarian Universalist groups. There is the story of the Unitarian Universalist who tells her friend, "You should really come to our congregation. I think you're a Unitarian Universalist at heart." The friend says, "Well, I don't know. I'm not much of a joiner." To which the UU replies, "See, I knew it. That proves it." Speaking very generally, of course, UUs don't know how to feel about joining, especially about joining something called a religious community. It smacks of conformity, compromise, conversion. People may have had experiences joining other organizations or groups or communities in their lives where they came to realize that what was required was to believe something or pretend to believe something that they weren't able to believe. An experience of belonging slowly changed into an experience of displacement. They realized that to be true to themselves, they had to be themselves within the group, to be honest and authentic. And to do that was somehow to put them at odds with the requirements or expectations of belonging to that group. That's understandable. That happens. There's nothing wrong with the individual or with the group necessarily, just might not be a good match. However, that led some people to a decision to either never join another group or to only join groups from whom nothing was required, thus maintaining their individual integrity. This is, I would suggest, a bit of an overreaction and not the healthiest way forward. It doesn't, after all, speak to that innate longing to belong. And I believe that's real. I suspect it's something that resides within all of us. And belonging always requires something. The question, what does it require? Our first principle says that we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Many have pointed out that this principle, given that it is often offered in isolation from the other principles, and given its pride of place, our first principle, is problematic in valuing the individual over and above the community. Everyone can see where a rampant, unchecked individualism has brought us in this society. Pulling back just a little, I have to wonder, how else can we truly affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person but in community? Through compromise and covenant and commitment to the greater good, by nurturing spiritual growth and practicing justice. Is this principle talking about my inherent worth and dignity? Yes. And also about yours and yours and yours and yours. Never forget that you are absolutely unique, just like everyone else. This quote has been misattributed to Margaret Mead, but I find it even more appropriate that the source is anonymous. You are absolutely unique, just like everyone else. Once again, I must face up to the fact that it's not all about me. It's about belonging to something bigger. It's about people, an abundance of people who are in this together, looking to create and sustain a congregation, a community, a society, a world that truly honors the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Any tiny shred of doubt any of us may have had about whether or not this is important should be swept away by the ongoing news of harassment, intimidation, discrimination, humiliation suffered by individuals and marginalized groups in our communities and in the wider world. And that is one of the unspoken requirements, I think, of belonging in our congregations. One that I wish to speak to today. I don't think it will come as a big surprise. So many of you do this beautifully in big and small ways, but it helps to be reminded. So much of what we do together is reminding ourselves and one another of our highest aspirations. One of the expectations for those who have come to feel that they belong is to make someone else feel like they belong. It may be someone just walking in our doors. It may be someone who has been coming for a while, but is a little unsure about where or if they fit. It may be someone not yet here, or here for years and suddenly feeling displaced. I'm not saying that everyone is necessarily going to want to belong in our congregations, but we can make the opportunity available. If you felt accepted, offer that acceptance to another. And it doesn't end here or there with only us. At our best, belonging here will not disconnect you from the world out there, but will connect you in powerful and positive ways. Let's look for a moment at the words of Mark Morrison Reed from our hymnal. The central task of the religious community is to unveil the bonds that bind each to all. There is a connectedness, a relationship discovered amid the particulars of our own lives and the lives of others. Once felt, it inspires us to act for justice. It is the church that assures us that we are not struggling for justice on our own, but as members of a larger community. In Keegan's words, it's just this feeling that there are people, an abundance of people who are in this together, who are on your team. Mark Morrison Reed continues, the religious community is essential, for alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen, and our strength too limited to do all that must be done. Together, our vision widens and our strength is renewed. Together, our vision widens and our strength is renewed. That jumped out at me in preparation for this service. That is not a bad measure for our health as a community. That is not a bad measure for the health of our definition of belonging. At our best, belonging in our congregations will widen your vision and renew your strength. Have you ever been in a group where you could say of it, together our vision narrows? Together our vision narrows and our strength is spent pointing accusing fingers at everyone else. Believe me, I get it. I have been an active and enthusiastic participant in such groups. We in our congregations are not immune from the possibility of becoming that group. But at our best, our vision is not narrowed by being together, but widened. And widening our vision does not mean that every opinion or perspective or approach or priority is equal. It does not mean we do not commit ourselves to action based on our best understanding. There are those things which affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person and respect for the interdependent web of all existence, and those things which don't. And it is our responsibility to speak out and sometimes act out and always live out our principles as best we can. But I also realize that my vision alone is too narrow, that there are things of which I am not aware that can cause me to inadvertently or carelessly betray my own highest aspirations. And so I rely on you all and on people out there to widen my vision. And our strength is renewed. Belonging should offer renewal. I know that many of you work so hard that I can't help but think there are times you leave your congregations exhausted and drained. I know that many are deeply troubled by what's happening in our world, saddened by the ugly trends and fearful of the future. And that leaves us feeling exhausted and drained. I hope that belonging, knowing that there are people, an abundance of people who are in this together, helps to strengthen your spirit. I hope that the tiny circles we create and pull around ourselves, tiny groups that make us feel loved and safe and part of something, I hope that they help to renew you when life feels overwhelming. And I hope that you have a sense of the gift that your congregations are to the world, and the importance of your participation in keeping your congregation alive and vibrant and engaged. And I hope that whatever good you find, you will find a way to share that in the wider world. Because these congregations to which we belong They are not a given. They only exist through those who choose to make it so. We who belong. We don't wish to lose this web we're in, this elusive, indefinable opposite of loneliness. This feeling, even though I am not physically present with you at this moment, this feeling I feel right now.
Blessed be. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing Come and Go With Me. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound.
Please join me in the words on the screen as we prepare to extinguish the chalice, both here and at home. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment, those we carry into our lives until we are together again. After the benediction and postlude, those of you joining us via Zoom are invited to stay for a virtual coffee hour as you chat in small breakout rooms. Those of you here in the sanctuary are invited to join for coffee, tea, and conversation outside the back doors. I remind you that if you have a donation to make for our offering, you may drop it in the basket as you go forth today.
Hear these words from Laura Lynn Bellamy, slightly adapted. If you have found freedom in your congregation, take it with you into the world. If you have found comfort, go and share it with others. If you have been accepted, let others know they belong. If you have found the opposite of loneliness, don't worry about what to call it. Just help make it for someone else. If you have dreamed dreams, help one another that they may come true. If you have known love, give back some to a bruised and hurting world. Go forth in love. Go forth in peace. Blessed be. May it be so.